Ladies and gentlemen, it has the potential to be a long meeting. So I ask for brevity where possible, not that I'm looking at any particular direction of people, but brevity where possible. And let's crack on. So the evacuation procedure, you've got members of the public here. So there's a location plan of the exits and the assembly points situated on the doors of this room at the back. And on discovering a fire, please carry out the following: sound the alarm, attack the fire if possible using the appliance provided. Oh, there's one down there, isn't there? That's fine. And then exit the building by your nearest exit, which could be the one at the back, it could be the one you came in from. Meeting in assembly point G, and please don't leave until you're told to do so by the chief executive here. Because if it is a real fire, the fire brigade will want to check out the attendance registers to make sure that everybody has left the building. So that's the reason for that. Right. Apologies for absence, members away on official council business.
Mr. Mayor, I've had apologies from Councillor Owen Phillips and Councillor Singh.
Okay. Are we happy to note those apologies? Are there any others?
Apologies for Councillor Hayden Phillips, who is unwell, and Councillor Gosling, Councillor Farrell, and Councillor Taylor.
What are depleted tonight?
They'll keep it short.
I'm sure you'll make up for it. Thank you. Any declarations of personal or prejudicial interest? I hear none. Then I move in accordance with Standing Order 6.1 that the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of December and the 15th of January be approved as correct record.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded. Okay. All those in favour, please shout. Thank you. The next one is to receive mayor's announcements. I've attended various functions. I can't quite at the life of me remember which ones they are now, and if I told you, you'll have forgotten them as well, but they will appear in the minutes. Is there anything you want to add or not want to add?
No.
Well, that's, look, there's honesty in politicians, it's a rare thing. To answer questions from members of the public pursuant to Standing Order, I would take the opportunity to remind the council that this is, the questions are read, and then the answer is read, and there's no further discussion. So let's start off with a question from Dawn Wilkinson. Are you here? Splendid. Okay. If you'd like to read out your question, if you want to, or we can take it. It's up to you.
I'll read it.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Dawn Wilkinson, resident with Town Councillor. There are no public toilets in the bus station since they were closed in 2022. This is a problem for bus drivers, visitors to our town, and especially for people who suffer with continence issues. The only option if you need to go to the toilet in town is to pay a visit to the leisure centre, the council offices, or to visit a cafe or pub, all involving a walk. In May 2023, council stated that there were, and I quote, plans for a small retail unit and all-ability toilet at no cost to the public, and that legals are complete and plans are with the council for approval. We are now almost 2 years on, and I have not seen any change to the building. My question is this: when will there be accessible public toilets at the bus station?
Thank you very much. I'll ask Councillor David Wright, leader of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm grateful to Dawn for her question. As she points out, there are a number of choices within Alveston for members of the public to use, such as at our offices and leisure centre. Alveston therefore has more options than most of other market towns or villages, and there are a range of other facilities on private premises. The council has reached an agreement with someone who wishes to develop the building, but we are concerned that this is taking some time to complete. My officers contacted the interested party earlier this month to explain this now has to happen, failing which the building would be placed back on the open market. I'm hopefully, therefore, this will spur the other party into redeveloping the building without further delay. The agreement includes a requirement to allow the public to use the toilet, which would increase even further to facilities that are available in Atherstone.
The next question's from Richard Kelly. I don't believe he's here. The question is in the, David, you want to sort of just read his question out and then give your reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question is, can the council confirm why the former Britannia Mill site has still not been made safe, and what steps have been taken to bring the pavement and highway back into use, and when they expect this to be? My reply: I would like to thank Mr. Kelly for his question, and we share the frustration of residents regarding the impact of this privately owned derelict land. Our building control officers advise that there is currently no danger from the site to the public, and they review the position regularly to ensure this is the case. We have no interest in the site remaining as it is, and our officers have been called out regularly out of hours to deal with issues. Most of the positive work that has taken place regarding this site has been at the prompting of this council. We now have a comprehensive set of planning permissions that would enable the owner to redevelop the site, and we have convened partners such as Homes England and the West Midlands Combined Authority to provide advice and assistance to the owners to seek the best way forward to develop the site. It remains, however, a private site, and it is the responsibility of the owners to do whatever is needed to develop the land. With regard to the pavement and road, my officers have pursued the owners several times a week to implement hoardings at the site, which County Council and building control officers have agreed would allow the road to fully reopen. It is likely, however, that the pavement nearest the building will need to remain closed. Notwithstanding these frustrations, I'm sure everyone will agree that the most important consideration is the safety of the public, and that has to remain our priority.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's move back on with the agenda and the reports of the various committees. Agenda item 7, Planning and Development Board. I'll just find while Councillor Simpson gathers himself. I'll just page 160. There it is. Yes. Thanks. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, it takes a long time to gather once.
It does. It only gets worse as well.
Listening back to gravity. I beg to move that the minutes of the Planning and Development Board held on the 1st of December, 6th of January, and 3rd of February.
That's seconded. Thank you. Page 168. 169. 170. 171. 172. 173. 174. 175. 176. 177. 178. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you. I beg to move that the minutes and notes of the meetings of the Planning and Development Board held on the 9th of December, 6th of January, and 3rd of February now be adopted.
And seconded? Very good. All those in favour, please show. Right, thank you. Minutes of the special subgroup, Councillor Clune.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I beg to move that the minutes of the special subgroup held on the 10th of December be received.
Seconded, anyone? Ray Jarvis again, yes, thank you. Page 179 and 180. Councillor Phillips.
Mr Mayor, I move that the minutes of the specialist approved on the 10th of December be adopted.
Seconded. Again, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. And now we're on to the Community and Environment Board. Councillor Margaret Bell.
Mr Mayor, I would like to move that minutes of the 20th of January and 5th of February, the Community Environment Board be received. But Mr Mayor, if I may, in moving the minutes of the 5th of February Community Environment Board, I'm proposing to council that in fact we have, subject to contract, appointed a preferred design and build developer partner for the Addison Leisure Centre, and that information should be removed from the private and confidential section of these minutes. It's really important that the public and stakeholders are updated on the progress with the leisure project, and I'm advised by officers that this information need not be regarded as confidential. So I'm very pleased that we're able to share this with our residents.
So we'll take that in addition to the recommendations we heard.
Please, thank you.
So page 181, 182, 183, 184, 185. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I usually was able to attend this meeting of the Community Environment Board. And as part of the hearing discussion on street cleansing and littering, there was a discussion about the A446 and the amount of litter and detritus that occurs there. But at the time, officers were clear in assuring us that when they are aware that the road is closed or partially closed, that they will coordinate with the other agencies to pick up as much rubbish as well. I'm delighted to advise the chairman that in driving along the A446 earlier this week, it is partially closed. So could I please be assured that we will nip along and pick up the rubbish where it is safe to do so?
Before Councillor, anybody else want to comment on that? Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I indeed am grateful to Councillor Simpson for bringing this up. Officers will clearly know from the Environment Board and any other places my constant whinge and complaint about the state of the 446 and where I'm getting misinformation, possibly misconstrued or what you might want to call it, but I'm hearing that the County Council are doing various workings, inviting the Borough Council, they are not responding, and there's just a mismatch of problems because the County Council are responsible for the A446, but it is down to the Borough Council through Streetscape that have to do all the cleaning, which for me I find is a complete nonsense. You look along there, Mr Mayor, and you've got cones, you've got A-frames, you've got litter, you name it, it is all there. And I have to say that on the 16th of January, yet again, I contacted the County Council with a series of complaints of areas that I've noted, and they have said that they will respond to me. They haven't yet, they just simply said that they would endeavour to put reasonable response together in due course. Your patience is appreciated. But I sent them another email again, I think it was yesterday or the day before, requesting an update of an action plan. And I agree with Councillor Simpson. That road is an absolute disgrace. And this goes, I have to say, from junction 9 of the M42 right the way down to the A452, I think it is, which comes under Solihull. But believe you me, Mr Mayor and fellow members, that road is an absolute insult and it's a disgrace to North Warwickshire and to Coleshill. And to add to that, Mr Mayor, is that we have the NEC. So we have a lot of people that travel along the dual carriageway, and that's what they see. And it says, welcome to Coleshill. Is that our welcome, Mr Mayor? Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment on this? Councillor Watson.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. As the county councillor for that stretch of road that's just been emotionally criticised, I can assure people we are. I mean, it's a tricky road to actually clean. I've allocated the delegated budget to have the road closed, or at least one lane of the road closed, and it's swept and cleaned. I can agree with councillor Fowler. I'm told as well from county that every time we do a road closure, we do inform the borough that the road is closed, so that if they want to, and if they're able to, resources permitting, go along and clean it. But it is a dual carriageway, it is a very busy road, it does get dirty, we accept that. But again, we're doing all we can. Just give the chamber the assurance.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I'd like to thank, thanks to Councillor Simpson and Councillor Fowler for letting me know that the road is closed. I wasn't aware. I don't know yet whether the county have informed our borough that it's closed, but Mrs James is here, so she's heard it. So I will make sure that we work together to take advantage of the road closure. I know that this has been an issue for a while. We've got an opportunity. Let's take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, any more on 185? 186? Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And I move that the minutes of community environment board 20th of January, 5th of February be adopted
With that little extra bit that you added on.
with the extra bit at the beginning. Thank you.
Seconding. You're seconding it. Councillor Rockall seconding it. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Agenda item 10, Resources Board. Councillor Caroline Simmons.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the Resources Board held on the 27th of January be received.
Seconded. Anyone? Councillor Watson. Thank you. Page 187. 188. 189. 190. 191. Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of January be adopted.
Seconded. Councillor Watson again. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. On to, we're going pace on now, aren't we? Councillor Andy Jennings, alcohol and licensing.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the Alcohol and Gambling Licensing Committee, not the subcommittee, held on the 28th of January be received.
Seconded, someone? Councillor Osborne, thank you. That's page 192. 193. Councillor Jennings.
Move that those minutes be adopted.
Seconded. Councillor Gervix. All those in favour, please show. Are you on your feet, Councillor James? Minutes of the Taxi and General Licensing Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the Taxi and General Licensing Committee held on the 28th of January be received.
Seconded. Councillor Osborne again. Page 194 and 195. Councillor Jennings.
And adopted, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Seconded. Someone, Councillor Dervick, seconding. All those in favour, please show. Right. That's number 13. Executive Board. Let's see how far we get on that before we have to. Councillor Wright to start with.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the Executive Board held on the 10th of February be received and give notice that I intend to move an amendment to minute number 62 regarding the tax set for 2025-26.
That's seconded. Someone, anyone? Thank you, Councillor Simmons. Right. Page 196.
If you were associating that.
Do it now rather than, yes, okay.
Can we do it?
Yes, something, please. Should we?
Yeah.
Pause and do it now?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. We'll get the amendment again. So Okay. Councillor Watson, you want to?
Ask it to the mayor.
Yeah,
Okay, ask me the question now.
I was
What was
quite
the- Yeah. Ask me now.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Would it be appropriate for Steve Maxey to just give us a summary of the email that he sent us in regard to the questions that were raised regarding our responsibilities with everything that was discussed on the audit, and you sent us an email, didn't you? See, when we sought clarity regarding whether we're responsible as the council and what our position is.
Is that relevant for us now?
Wait, it's relevant to the executive.
Sorry, that was a bit vague, but I didn't want to say
Yeah.
too much in case you didn't feel it was appropriate.
So
to take on
if it's possible, Mr Mayor, to deal with that the direct point. So there was a question at executive board about whether or not members have any personal liability given how audits have gone recently. The short answer is no. For the reason set out in the email, happy for that to be minuted. If that's acceptable.
Thank you.
I hope you've all had a copy of the. Because I haven't.
Just there.
We'll share. That's the really.
Yeah, could we take some time just to go and read it, because we haven't seen this.
Okay, 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then please let me know if you want to put an amendment of your own or not. Because then when we get to it, I want to have just one debate on the budget.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question? Rather than us having a multiplicity of amendments, it'd be helpful, I think, for all of us, if we knew if there were any other amendments, so that we could consider them all in one go.
We don't know whether there's any other amendments yet because I haven't looked at what we've done. So we'll adjourn for 10 minutes and then we'll.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Councillor, would you go to ask if there are
Ready yet? Well, think she needs a chance to read it.
I'll let you know when we've read it.
And I will then, Mr. Mayor, be gobsmacked when one appears.
You'd rather wait and let me know here or let me know in the chamber, in the mayor's parlour, if you're going to do one. So on, there, yes. Right. 10 minutes, 10 to 7. Because I'm aware that some other people have other pressures, don't they, Councillor? Yes. 10 minutes. Thank you. So my understanding is we will just have the one amendment from the leader of the council on the council tax. So we'll go through the pages for the executive board till we get to that. And then there will have to be a formal recorded vote on the council tax taken before we complete the rest of the executive board pages. Are we okay with that? So beginning on page 196. You have introduced it, haven't you? Yes, you have.
Yes, it's in.
196, 196A, 196B, 196 C. And then are we into 196 D, and we're off with the council tax amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following the election in July, where the now Prime Minister consistently said he has a plan and will fix everything, and Rachel Reeves, and the Chancellor in her budget, who said it was all about growth, we have seen this economy at best stagnate. Government borrowing increase and become more expensive with interest rates going up. Business confidence at an all-time low since 2010, since the last Labour government. We see millionaires leaving this country at a rate of about 1 every 45 minutes, and large corporates start to move away from the UK. Parents taking their children out of private schools because of the VAT being added to fees, therefore putting additional strain on the state system and not achieving the revenue expected. And I don't think I need to mention the devastating impact the policies of this Labour government have put onto farmers. In contrast, I'm pleased to present the budget for North Warwickshire for 25-26, which is once again centred around delivering a sustainable medium-term financial position whilst improving our facilities, protecting our excellent services for the future, and listening to what the residents have said is important to them. Our budget follows on from last year's budget and the work we have undertaken on the council's priorities as set out in the corporate plan. It builds on our extensive consultation work undertaken last year, which showed very high levels of satisfaction with the borough and with how the council delivers its services, particularly with regard to value for money. That resident survey also flagged up some of the key issues that residents value, including improving leisure services, cleaner streets, more community facilities and safer communities. The budget priorities I am introducing this evening seek to build on this and take the work further. As members will be aware, the position with regard to the council's finance remain very tight, and cost of living issues continue to affect our residents. In addition, we now have the additional uncertainty regarding the government's policy on local government reorganisation, which in my opinion is being rushed and risks weakening the link between our residents and their local councils. But as ever, notwithstanding whatever uncertainty is thrown at us, we are committed to continue to deliver our excellent services to residents and to continuously improve. I'd like to look back initially on last year's announcement. Given this budget aims to continue that work, there has been excellent progress, particularly on the leisure project, with the very significant announcements this month that we have started working with our preferred design and build developer partner. This is a major milestone and demonstrates the commitment to the council to present members with the best options for future leisure provision services in the borough. I'm also pleased that the progress on the new pump track in Dordon is going very well in consultation with the local members and the public. Members will also have seen the significant improvements in the appearance of our towns and villages as a result of the additional cleaning from the £125,000 investment announced last year and the fund of £100,000 that has been used towards the very popular scheme to improve shop fronts within the borough. In order to ensure these improvements continue, I am proposing a further £125,000 for street cleaning and a further £100,000 to support shops in our high streets and villages. Members will be aware that this year commemorates 80 years since Victory in Europe Day, which saw the end of the Second World War. We are therefore proposing a sum of £10,000 for small grants to community groups to allow events to be held to remember this occasion. Some members will recall that a similar sum was made available 5 years ago, which was very well received by our communities. In addition, we are proposing an additional £85,000 to top up councillor grant. Our commitment to exploring the options for improved leisure and recreation facilities continues, and I'm pleased to propose that another £5 million be put into a capital reserve fund for work on the leisure project. This is in addition to the £8.25 million funding we announced last year and represents a very serious commitment to this project. Other facilities around the borough are equally important, and we are particularly pleased to announce funding of up to £200,000 for the changing rooms at Manchester. It is also worth noting that our work on upgrading play areas across the borough has continued successfully this year. Members and residents have made it clear how very much they value the council's enforcement action in respect of planning and environmental health matters across the borough. This work can often be long and protracted, and unfortunately can come at considerable expense. But this council is committed to our safe and livable communities' corporate priority. Members will be aware of the considerable work that is going on across the borough, regulating everything from abattoirs, shooting grounds, issues relating to the construction of HS2, as well as defending our planning decisions. Members will recall the very successful planning appeal in respect of the Hoddit site near Dordon, which showed the very best work of our officers allied to investing in external support. We have therefore committed additional sums in this budget for legal costs and planning appeals, and our proposals this evening includes ongoing funding for a further planning enforcement officer. In addition, we are proposing a further £35,800 towards the staffing costs for the CCTV in Atherstone, and will continue to talk to other areas to see if they can link into this system. There will also be £15,000 for initiatives to improve community safety, with projects being developed and approved by the Safer Communities Subcommittee. Once again, the settlement figures have been given by the government are for 1 year only, and we have the additional uncertainty of the government consulting on change to how the councils are funded. As mentioned earlier, we also have the added uncertainty regarding reorganisation, and I'm grateful for the support and agreement across this chamber for our work so far on this. A small budget will be needed to support this work this year, and we're proposing £50,000 for this. Despite this uncertainty, it is important that the council manages and balances its budget responsibly while seeking to take the opportunities available to us to improve our services. There is a need, therefore, to increase council tax in line with what the government have assumed within our funding figures, as to not to do so would take £1.6 million out of our budget. This is a modest increase on the Band D council tax of £7.05 per year, 14p per day. I appreciate this is still an increase, but if we don't do this, the cumulative loss over the medium term is estimated we will have a significant impact on the services we will be able to deliver, which our residents have told us they do not want to see. Mr. Mayor, our budget is all about continuing the good financial management that has led to the opportunities that are available to us currently, using those opportunities to increase the financial sustainability of the council and delivering for our communities based on what they have said is important to them. And I recommend the budget to the council.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Caroline Simmons. Do you want to speak now or
No, I
Reserve
reserve
your
my
right
right
to
to speak.
speak later. Thank you. Those are, I'm collecting hands in there. I've got councillor Clues first. Do you want to kick off, councillor Clues?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm quite happy to support this budget. It's been very well thought out, and I think as we see down here, there's a lot of things that's happened and going to continue happening. One of the ones is the High Street grants. I don't know Addison High Street, but when you walk down there and see some of the lovely shop fronts that's been done, they look really nice, and I know that the people, the owners and that are very grateful for what's been done. And another one is the safe communities. You know, it might be a small amount of money, but anything that we can do to make our communities safer, I think is a good thing. The other one is the council grant. I know myself and Councillor Barnett, we had some lovely thank you cards for a grant that we gave to Ridge Lane community rooms, just for tables, but they sent us some lovely photos of the tables being used. But I think the main one for me is the Manchester changing rooms. I've been a councillor for 12 years now in Addison South Manchester and Ridge Lane. 3 years ago, we managed to get the rec facilities in there, and the children were so pleased about it. But the changing rooms down there, first we made sure that any money spent of them would be used. And the thing is down there is, I know a lot of people, especially Katie there, has a lot to do with football and that. And one of the things that was quite upsetting was there was no girls' football teams down there because there was no facilities for them. And a lot of work's been done on this. I wouldn't just put my hand in and say to my fee or all your councillors sitting here, you know, could I have this grant if we knew that it wasn't going to work and there was some work done beforehand. So I'm hoping tonight that my fellow councillors will support this. But I'd also like to say thank you to the team that's got this far, done all the legwork, done all the paperwork and everything before, you know, this gets agreed tonight, just to make sure it's gone. And there is a team, but I'd just personally like to say thank you to Stephanie Wagstaff for the amount of time that she's put into this. Thank you.
I see no other hands in here. Are we done? Oh, sorry, councillor Huynh.
Thank you. I find it quite interesting. This is my second budget, and there's never any mention of the 23% meal terms cut to local authority grants. I just wondered why that was under the Conservative government. But as we're keeping things very friendly tonight, I just wanted to say that we welcome the additional enhanced street cleaning fund and the electric vehicles. They're both good ideas, and I'm fairly sure they were in previous Labour budgets. Can I just clarify? So the councillor grant, so are you rolling over 15,000 plus an additional 5,000, or are you rolling over what's remaining in the current funds and adding a 5,000 to that next year? So if I could just have some clarity on that. Thanks.
Anybody? Oh, councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will be as brief as I can. I'd just like to highlight a couple of things that were in the leader's speech. You know, personally, I think it is incredibly sad that we need to put in additional cash to do with planning enforcement and planning appeals. But it is inevitable in the world that we are at the minute, and I think it's extremely welcome. We have a very active and professional enforcement team, and to have another officer will enhance the ability and do more to ensure that we are able to deliver the outcome that people want, deliver the outcomes that the planning board votes for. So the additional enforcement officer, plus the additional cash for planning appeals and legal costs, I think is extremely welcome. So planning appeals are incredibly expensive. Some of the volumes of cash this authority has had to spend at the public expense to defend the decisions that we reasonably take are eye-watering. And I'm sure members will have noticed on the council tax schedule that for Longview Parish Council has increased their precept from 400 to 65,000, almost entirely due to the costs of their involvement in the planning appeal. Planning appeal costs local authorities significant amounts of money to deliver what the public expects us to do. It's unfortunate, but I think the commitment of the council to do that is excellent. And I congratulate the leader and all members for doing that. I think it's absolutely essential. So, thank you. Genuinely, I'm looking forward to seeing our new member of staff in enforcement soon, and I'm sure that will continue to deliver good results.
Councillor Turvix, and then Councillor Parson.
Thank you. I would just like to reinforce what Councillor Simpson has said. We have gone through eye watering expense recently due to planning and defending our correctly made decisions. And we know they're correct because we actually won. But they were very expensive, not only in buying in expertise, QCs, etc., but in the time that our officers have had to spend on those things. We also have large infrastructure developments coming through Warwickshire, with more to come, I'm sure. So I can only reinforce the message that it is vital that we fund our planning team correctly and make sure that we have enough manpower to answer all the questions that come to us. Alongside that, I also think it is very important that we make sure that we have enough capacity within our finance department so that they can fulfil their job properly. Because if we don't get that right, we're in a big mess. And they support everything that this council does. So I'm making a plea for support for both of those departments particularly. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Dave Parson.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, can I join Councillor Roberts in agreeing with Councillor Simpson about the appeals. Obviously, the appeals on Hodgett's development was a huge commitment to this council. It was also a huge commitment to Polesworth and Dordon parish councils, and it was vital that it was won. We gather there might be yet another chapter there, but it is of vital importance, and that is to be welcomed. I would also like to welcome the fact that Manchester are getting their changing rooms. That's absolutely wonderful, and it's good to hear. However, I have to ask the perennial question I seem to ask every year. Polesworth Sports Centre. Now, the leader of the council did say to me some years ago that this would be built. In fairness, he didn't tell me which century it would be built in, but you know, where are we looking at this? I'd like a few guarantees. I appreciate, you know, apparently a decision has been made to go ahead with Atherstone and to get that sorted before Polesworth is going to be looked at. But we have to ask the question, when is Polesworth going to be looked at? And I have to remind the council again that partly by into this council's local plan, now Polesworth and Dordon are the largest communities in North Warwickshire, set to grow even larger, and the facilities are not there. When are we going to see the Polesworth and Dordon Sports Centre actually looked at properly, and this community, this part of this community, given what it really should have? These facilities are essential. They should be. If we're going to make this the largest community by quite a long way in North Warwickshire, we should be looking at facilities to support the people who are coming to live there and the people who live there now. I mean, I'm assuming that the 4 million that's in the budget is going to sit there and continue to be allocated to Polesworth and hopefully not swallowed up in the Atherstone plan. But I have to ask, when is Polesworth going to see this very important facility and eminently justifiable facility begun? Thank you.
Councillor Jones. Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to speak very briefly to support this budget. I think it builds on what was a very popular budget last year from people who I spoke to. Some really good stuff again, I think, in the budget this year. But if I could particularly pull out a couple of things that stand out to me. One is the enhanced street cleaning. I think that's been really successful this year. We've had some really good deep cleans, particularly in my ward as well, have been quite popular. Councillor grants, I think that's really important. We as members know what our wards need and what's important to our wards, and to have that money available that we can directly put into particular projects or particular groups within our ward. I think that's really important. The High Street Grants Fund, I've actually enjoyed sitting on the panel that awards these grants, and they've been some really good bids for grants. In a previous life, many years ago, I did own and run a small retail business. It was tough then, and I think it's much tougher now for these businesses. So anything we can do to support them, I think, is really important. And I think this is a really good project that helps small businesses at a time when they're sort of being hit by a lot of extra costs, charges. And finally, the VE money of £10,000. I think I'm pleased to see that going in the budget. I have actually been asked by a couple of local groups whether money would be available to support the VE Day, and I think it's good that we're doing that. What I would say is the timeline between the start of the budget and VE Day actually taking place is quite short. So I think if we could, as a council, be pushing that and making sure that the groups are aware of it, it would be useful. So thank you. Happy to support the budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We've got Councillor Fowler, who will be followed by Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Wright for an excellent address on the budget. Looking down the additional growth proposals, I certainly welcome, like Councillor Bell, as the climate change group, that we certainly welcome the vehicle replacement of electric vehicles, along with the EV charging and also the new fleet transport system. And certainly welcome the enhanced street cleaning, and I hope, as you've heard from myself and Councillor Simpson, that we'll try and actually get some work along with the borough and the county to address the 446 that we've talked about. I certainly welcome as well, again, the look at the heritage and conservation work, very important to our rural borough. The only sad thing I see on here, what a great shame that we have to fork out £50,000 for the two-tier authority submitting to the changes, which is clearly going to see this authority possibly and potentially, and probably more so, disappear and end up with the county council as a two-tier authority, which I find very sad indeed. Furthermore, I do welcome the councillor grants, giving again groups in our local areas more opportunity to apply for various grants. And as has been said by a number of members here, how much we recognise and welcome the High Street grants as well, Mr. Mayor. And finally, the one that has been alluded to as well is the VE Day Anniversary Fund. I will declare an interest as the branch secretary to the Coleshill Royal British Legion, but I'm sure that the British Legion, along with other groups, will be looking at doing some sort of celebration on VE Day. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Margaret Bell, I think we're followed by Councillor Wapples after.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to respond to Councillor Parsons, as you might imagine. And I absolutely understand why you keep talking about something that's really important in your area. And absolutely, and we haven't forgotten, and it is on the agenda. But the reason, and we've discussed this in CNE board, the reason why we're not doing it immediately are twofold. One is we've always said that the 106 contributions for the extra housing around Polesworth will be significant in funding this new centre. And we still haven't got the houses, so we haven't got the 106 money. And secondly, we did an outline business case for Addiston and Polesworth, and it was quite clear that we needed the savings that will be made through the new Addiston Centre in order to fund the revenue that we'll need to service the loan we will need for the Polesworth Centre. So but one thing follows after another. We haven't forgotten it. It's on the agenda. Keep reminding us because I know it's important to you, but that's the reason why we're not doing it at the moment.
Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following on from that, I just wanted to confirm with Councillor Parsons on the importance of the Polesworth Leisure Centre, and just wanted to raise a point that Councillor Bell and myself were discussing beforehand, because I noticed that it wasn't in the budget, but there was discussions about potentially having a 3G pitch in the meantime for the Polesworth area whilst all this is going on. So I think that would be welcomed, not to replace the leisure centre, but certainly as a, as a sort of an interim, thank you. And just going back on the other point that Councillor Parsons made, which again, I concur with the Hodgetts development that we all fought tirelessly for, but I just wanted to add that it was also BCAT, the Bircham Moor Community Action Team, that were part of the Rural Six Party, not just the parish councils that were mentioned. So their input was very valuable, including some of the inspectors actually going into their bedrooms to see the extent of what the damage would be. So I do think they need to be mentioned as well at the same time. So I concur with all that. Going on to the budget, I was particularly interested to see about CCTV that Addiston, and I welcome the fact that they're being supported. But I just wanted to make the point that for future councils, perhaps we should look at supporting other areas. I don't just mean Polesworth actually, but if you speak to the police, it's quite important that you get some joined up areas with CCTV. So I think perhaps this council should sort of commit for future work to look at how we can be supportive across the borough, and maybe think about investing across the borough for some CCTV just to help all areas, because as we know, crime is on the increase. Thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I read it with interest, the budget, and listened very carefully to what I say. I always feel a little bit ambushed because a lot of the projects is that it was wonderful to hear Councillor Clue speak with such passion in relation to the Manchester changing rooms. And there's a lot more colour when you can hear that, and possibly the ability to talk about these things ahead of the meeting, or it would be a lot more informative in terms of deciding which way that you can vote on these kind of aspects. I don't intend to go through the items. There is things in there which I'm very grateful to see. There is a talk, like Councillor Waffles details, about the differences between our communities in terms of those that are slightly more urban and those that are village kind of based. I think it's interesting that whether we can get value out of this budget from our own particular areas depends on how successful we are in some of these, in appealing for some of these grants. And I will double my efforts to make sure that we are getting our fair share within Waterwater. Picking up on Councillor Fowler's point, I do worry in relation to reorganisation and the unforeseen costs that are not necessarily being listed. And I think here, when I talk about the greatest asset that this council has in many ways, which are the skills and experience of its staff and its commitment. Such moves, I know, having worked within environments that experience and change, can lead to staff becoming, wanting to be secure their own futures. And I think that one of the greatest dangers that we potentially have is that we lose staff that we don't want to lose, that they become unsettled in their roles. And I do think that it's something that we do have to consider, because it takes a bit of time for these things to go through. People want to see what happens. But I think in future budgets, we might need to consider what extra help and support we can offer to our staff in order to make sure that they do feel safe and secure and valued in their roles. And that we're going to be out there going and fighting for them going forward in any reorganisation that we're going to do.
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis, next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, welcome the budget. It's very, very forward-looking and building on last year's successes. A couple of things: the cleaning and shopfront programs that have been going on are exceptionally well received, and it's something that is visible to everyone. There is no exceptions to that. When we go around the towns, we see improvements, and that is that's welcomed by everybody that speaks as we're around the town. Leisure. Now, obviously, there's a big for Manchester, for the leisure centre, as Councillor Bell said, Polesworth hasn't been forgotten. It's still there. It's still being developed. So there is nothing there that has been excluded. Welcome the 15k for the safer communities, which, whilst it's not a great sum of money, it's a sum of money that will actually help. And the office is studying what the trends are, and it gives us the ability to do things to attack those trends. And to what Councillor Waffles has just said on joining up other CCTV areas, that was actually done a couple of years ago, and I attended a couple of meetings at Polesworth where they was looking to join them together, and it just appears that they've stalled. I have spoken to the officers about this, and I think we need to resurrect it, because it's to the benefit of all the areas, and not only Polesworth, but there is other areas with CCTV that we can expand that into. And I think that's definitely one that we can examine. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to talk on the points that Councillor Parsons, Councillor Waffle, a lot of other people have spoken about tonight, which is the leisure facilities. It's great that Manchester are getting those changing rooms at last. I'd like to speak on obviously the leisure facilities in Polesworth. I think what's needed are some timelines. Well, we all know that the Atherstone project, that's going to take, I would say, 18 months to 2 years to complete that project. And if you're then waiting for a revenue generation from that to fund part of the Polesworth project, then that is even further down the line. So it's important for our communities in Polesworth and Dordon that we do get some facilities, and I think the 3G pitch idea is an excellent one. I think if we join up with the Football Foundation to look for match funding as well, there's a chance that we could get more for our money as well. We've got some good officers who could make that happen. So I'd like to see a firm commitment with some timelines put in, not probably for tonight, but for future boards, where we can look at the 3G facilities and get some actual timelines put in and deliver it before, who knows what in our future in the next couple of years with the unitaries looming over our shoulders. At least we'll have a legacy that we can deliver for the people of the villages who need these facilities. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I've got no other. Councillor Parsons, have you?
Sorry.
You've already spoken of it.
Yes, I just wondered if I could come back on one point, Chair.
No.
Nice try.
Unless it's a point of order, no. We'd love to hear it, but it's rules. Okay, so I'm going to ask that be Councillor Simmons if she would like to.
Yeah.
Second, I think, and then Councillor Royce will follow, and then we'll have a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second the proposal for the budget this evening. I think that it's, despite some challenging circumstances that all local authorities find themselves to be in, I do think it's a real positive step for us as a council. And actually, whilst nobody wants to be putting council tax up at the moment, when taxes are sort of looming and rising large for lots of people at the moment, I think £7.5 for a bandy property per year, given that what we're proposing and actually some of the things we wish to deliver, I think does represent reasonable value. Just coming back to a couple of things, I'm not going to pour over the things we've all talked about already. I think they've been really well covered, but just a couple of things, particularly one that came through the Resources Board to do with the HRA, the Housing Revenue Account. One of the things that we've been talking about there, and we've started work on reviewing garage sites. They present an opportunity for us as a council to look at different pockets of land that could be used in a different way, potentially. And the money that's gone into this year into that budget to enable us to perhaps move on some of those things and actually deliver something different is really positive to me and actually moves that forward. And so I'm really pleased about that, particularly to be able to perhaps look at some infill and some housing in areas where in the past we haven't been able to use all of the right to buy receipts to in the same way as we can now, because that's opened up and in combination with other grants, so actually that we can deliver more within that sphere. So there's a lot of opportunity there for us in the next 12 to 18 months. So I'm really pleased about that. And the other thing, just responding to the Polesworth, it's come up by 3 different people now. So actually, I think it's probably worth saying. There is some Section 106 money that is available that needs to go through a C&E board for it to be delivered. So in terms of the timeline, we obviously can't agree with that now today and in this room. But we can say that that money is available. It is available for use, and it should be put to use within that area and should form part of a C&E agenda that we can actually put something together, put something in the area in the interim, because we know that the Polesworth Leisure Centre and the schemes that we had hoped to be delivering now has had to take a slightly backseat for the for cash management, if for want of a better word, and for and to manage those costs and particularly dealing with a facility that is sort of disintegrating in front of our house really and isn't offering the service we wanted to. So I think there's a couple of things there that we can actually look to suggest and take that to one of the next C&E boards, and I know that Councillor Bell will take that forward. So on that basis, and looking over some of the things that we have put here, particularly the things that have followed on the streetscape and the high street funding, I think they've been particularly well received, as have some of the councillor grants and some of the things that have been able to be achieved locally. And it does give us a much more direct link with our community to be able to feel that we can do something positive. So I'm pleased to see that again. So on that basis, I'm really happy to second our budget this evening.
Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of points. Councillor Wackles, yeah, absolutely. The CCTV, yeah, more than happy. I would remind the chamber that the contribution this council is making is towards only part funds. A little, Addison Town Council pick up the majority of that cost, but yeah, absolutely through the community safety, safer communities partnership, safer communities board, exploring all the options to work with not just Polesworth, no, absolutely, COSL, any area that wants to link in and share, absolutely. It's all about partnership working, and it would enhance that service. Councillor Stewart on LGR, absolutely share your concerns. It's something that I don't think the county council, and certainly I don't think it's something that the government have thought about, the huge cost of LGR. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Somerset, I'm going to keep using them as an example because they were one of the latest ones to go. Unitary, they totally underestimated the cost of the reorganisation. And it's those costs of redundancy, early retirement, etc., puts a massive strain that they don't seem to forecast. So I look forward to working with you and everybody else tomorrow evening to look at that. The Leader of the Opposition. I'll clarify one point. Yeah, it's £5,000 additional on the council community grants. So you can just, and obviously any balances that you've already got will be carried forward, rolled over. It's an additional £5,000 per ward. And I'm going to have to clearly address the comments you made criticising the previous government. We are where we are, and I will again reiterate the fact that your Prime Minister, or the Prime Minister, said, running up to the general election, I've got a plan and I'm going to fix it. Neither of which have come to fruition. One of the additional costs that we've got as a council, but we don't know how much yet, is the massive increase to employers' national insurance contributions. The government have said that they will reimburse local authorities that increase. We don't know how much. It's certainly not going to be 100% of the increase because they're basing it the latest we heard was that they based that on the payroll from 2 years ago. Clearly, pay rises have affected that, so the national insurance contributions have gone up. So we're clearly not going to get 100% reimbursement on that. And what saddens me and disappoints me the most, I guess, is the fact that the leader of the opposition stands there criticising, but hasn't been bothered to come up with an amendment of their own. We have 2 MPs that are still sitting councillors. Where are they tonight? We see Councillor Gosling, MP. She could be bothered to go to Annesley Parish Council last night, but clearly can't be bothered to come to represent the people of Arley ward in this chamber. We have Councillor Taylor, who consistently is all over social media criticising this council about particularly the Britannia Mill, where we know we are doing everything we can as a council. She's a member of that ward, she's a member of this council and represents the ward. Britannia Mill is, where is she tonight? Again, can't be bothered. So don't criticise us, Councillor Reary, and talk about the past, because we are committed to this borough. All the Conservative councillors are committed and want the best for our residents, and this budget goes a long way to serving that and responding to our resident survey. So I commend the budget to the chamber.
Thank you. We now, by law, have to have a recorded vote, as it's a budget vote, and I'll put you in the hands of the Chief Executive. I'll call out your names and you are either for or against.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is for or against the amended budget as being voted this evening. Councillor Barnett.
Abstain.
Councillor Bates.
For.
Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Chapman.
Abstain.
Councillor Clues.
For.
Councillor Davey.
For.
Councillor Dervix.
Abstain.
Councillor Fowler.
For.
Councillor Hayfield. Councillor Hobley.
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
Abstain, sorry.
Councillor Jarvis.
For.
Councillor Jens.
For.
Councillor Melia.
For.
Councillor Osborne.
For.
Councillor Parsons.
Abstain.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Ridley.
For.
Councillor Ryrie.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Stewart.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
Councillor Turley.
Abstain.
Councillor Watson.
For.
Councillor Wapples.
For.
Councillor Andy Wright.
For.
Councillor David Wright.
For.
That's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Let's get back to pages. Pages number 196D, 196E, and is that it?
We're back to
Right. So, Councillor Wright, the adoption of your executive board.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I now move that the minutes of the executive board held on the 10th of November this year be adopted.
Secondly, Councillor Simmons. All those in favour, please show.
Yes, that's unanimous.
Thank you. We're now on to the notices of motion, agenda item 14. The first one up is Councillor Stewart. We've got printed in the agenda your full proposition. Would you like to speak to it now?
I just wish to move the motion for that.
Is it seconded by someone?
Yes.
There's a queue.
Councillor Watt, okay. Is there anybody who wants to speak to it? Councillor Murray.
We would like to propose a motion, an amendment, sorry. I don't wish to read the entire motion, but we would like to take out part 2 and part 4 of this council resolve. So that it would just say, this council resolves 1, to operate its business in a respectful matter that is conducive to supporting the work of all members, and 2, to operate its business in a respectful manner which is mindful of presenting itself as an effective political body which puts the interests of all residents and environment for those of any cost and motivation. We want to take out the section about the skills audit. We believe that it's up to group leaders to decide which of their groups would be best on each board.
First of all, is that seconded? Councillor Parsons seconded. Did you get that? As a
Yes, thank you. I'll do that. I think it's first thing to ask Councillor Stewart. I suppose to accept that. Is that?
yes, do you want to accept that, Councillor Stewart?
Am I allowed to speak on the amendment?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Just for point of clarification,
I need to know, are you going to accept it or not?
Say it now.
I'm going to say,
Isn't
I'm
it?
going to give
Okay,
some reasoning. Is that, thank you very much, and I welcome the amendments because I think it's all about building consensus. The reason why point 4 was in there in relation to the skills audit, I was looking at that from a very personal point of view. In a group of 1, I understand that from a group leader's point of view, you probably know your groups quite well. In a group of 1, you don't know me at all, and so therefore your decision as to where to actually place me actually is not necessarily that well informed. So that was the reasoning for around there. Around the matter of point 2 and to seek to build consensus ahead of company budget approval meetings, we've sort of like gone past the point of that anyway. But I still welcome, as I made the point around Councillor Clues, I do think that just a little bit more honesty and some transparency enables us to potentially build a consensus, which I think is generally there. I think we can all understand each other's needs and requirements and have people advocating for particular cases. I think that we denotes the need where people are put into awkward situations where they're felt to, are they making decisions that are not necessarily as well informed as they want. But I am happy to accept the amendments if I see nods across the chamber.
Thank you. So we have basically one debate. Anyone else want to contribute? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I need to support the amendment. And to be fair, the only bit of your notice of motion that I didn't agree with was that skills audit, because it is not, it's not the time. Well, it's not the place. We're elected members, and we don't do skills audits because, as Councillor Reary said, it's down to group leaders and all the rest. And I did ponder on that. It doesn't happen in any chamber or any. It doesn't happen. It certainly doesn't happen in Parliament, because if it did, let's face it, if there was a skills audit undertaken in government, we wouldn't have anybody in government, would we?
Councillor Waffles.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a point. The reason I was happy to second this, obviously the content I fully support anyway, but I'd just like to say that it's a shame that behaviours don't always extend outside of the chamber. So maybe we should think about that as well. It doesn't have to just be contained in here, that people are supportive and kind.
If there's no other contributions,
Councillor Murray to sum up on her amendment, and then Councillor Stewart. I don't know whether Councillor Parsons.
Oh, Councillor Parsons, you want to say something?
Very briefly, Chair. In terms of the amendment, I think we've had a good look at this skills audit, and there seems to be some consensus there. And we do want consensus, but I have to say, I personally am a believer in the political process. I do believe that it is part of our duty to test ideas by debate and actually really sort of taking our ideas to task, and that is important. I think, if we look at today's news in particular, I see really a consensus between two national leaders, one Mr. Trump and one Mr. Putin. That is not a happy consensus in my view. It is far from that. And sometimes consensus, if it's all wrapped up and done before the meeting, can be a form of dictatorship. Consensus is important, yes, but it is not the be all and end all. And I think we should be wary of just dislocating the political process. The political process is important. Arguments should be tested. They should be considered, and they should be considered in chambers like this. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Rooney, do you want to sum up on your amendment or not?
I don't have anything left to say on it.
Councillor Stewart, do you want to sum up on your?
The motion.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did bring this motion because I was reviewing my notes in relation to all the council meetings that I've got, and I was actually shocked that I noted in around behaviours in the chamber in at least 70%, and I didn't realise that it was there afterwards until I'd actually reviewed that. There have been a couple of points, and I've spoken at length in relation to some of the things that I've seen in this chamber during my nearly 2 years now as a councillor. And I don't think it's always enabled us to do the job in the best way that we possibly could. I find that receiving information late-handed not to be that great. I'm conscious as well is that when I've raised said points, that the leader of the council has said, unfortunately, it's the world that we live in. It's always forward by a suffix. There's always it's a shame that we are in this kind of world. And Councillor Simpson, who is someone who I've got a great deal of respect for, and I'm sure that he knows that. He's made the point when I've spoken before around we shouldn't have to apologise for being political beasts. You know, as that we're elected, that you're elected as members of a political party. I just want to make the point is that we are all actually elected as individuals. That is our political process. We aren't. There have been elections where people vote for a slate. Yeah, is that the European elections? You voted for a party in the slate and you went down that slate in terms of who's there. We're all elected as individuals. Yeah, we're all elected to represent our wards. And I've not been part of a whip or whatever. I don't not quite know what that is. I don't think I'm actually probably quite cut out for that, I have to be honest. But I think that it is of interest that I think that people at times are not necessarily always listening or feeling or seeking to represent their residents, or might find that's difficult. And I find that upset. I totally take on board the points that Councillor Parsons make. Challenge is so important. Absolutely, it's important. But at times, actually, the chamber I don't think is the place for it. If that can be had outside, if we can have robust discussions outside. I'm also reminded of a discussion when we were having when we were appointing the alderman. And Councillor, I said, we had some real battles in here, but we were mates outside, and that's how it should be. I actually found myself shaking my head because I was thinking, you have real battles, you have those strong conversations, respectfully, yeah, outside, but seek to challenge outside, and then actually you come here and you can make the points as much as you like. But if we can stop the bun fights, yeah, which frankly I don't think a lot of people like it. Yeah, I think that people like to see that. I think there's an awful lot more that we have consensus around than separates us. And again, the point that Councillor Parsons makes around some of the things that are in the world today that are very, very, very unsettling. Actually, I think we can provide a certain amount of stability around that. And I think we have a responsibility to do that if we can, and to build that respect. And when we are talking about deregulation, something I mentioned when we were having the conversations a couple of weeks ago, I'd like it if this chamber doesn't exist in a couple of years, and I know Councillor Fowler hopes that it does, but I'd like people to miss us. Yeah, to actually think, actually, these people, they knew what they were, and they put us focus first. And that's the general impression and the feeling behind that. And it is taking on board those things important, including our fair challenge review. Yeah, and so I propose the motion and hope that it receives consent.
Generally speaking, we're a nice natured lot. You go to some of the other councils, there's blood on the carpets. Can I ask for all those in favour of the motion to show, please?
The amendment. On the amendment.
It's the amended one, yes.
Motion as amended.
Yes, the motion as amended. Looks to be unanimous. Any dissent? No? Right. Councillor Hobley, we come to yours. You want to present your motion?
Thank you. My motion is to propose that this council recognises the impact of domestic abuse on residents in North Warwickshire and seeks affiliation with a charity such as the White Ribbon UK to put an end to violence against women and girls.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that, and I've got some.
Thank you. Are there any amendments or anything to that or not?
Mr. Mayor, it might be worth just saying that an amendment has gone in, which I think has been accepted, and so members should have an amended version.
Okay. Who put forward the amendment?
Councillor, but it's been accepted as a friendly amendment, so others.
You've accepted as a friendly amendment.
I just wanted to check that everybody's got the new version.
As ever, the amendment was the last to get. Okay.
Sorry, there are some shaking of heads in the room.
Found it.
You've got it. It's the one that says, it should say 14% in Warwickshire and 93%.
So we have a motion as amended, an accepted amendment. A second, do you want to speak now?
I did want to speak, yes.
Yes, please speak now then.
Speak now?
If you want to.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. Hello, fellow councillors. I've only got a few lines here and I don't speak very often, so make the most of it. My fellow councillors, I would like to express my strong support for Katie Hobley's proposal to endorse the White Ribbon Charity. This is an important cause that deserves our commitment as a borough. For far too long, harmful attitudes and behaviours associated with toxic masculinity have gone unchallenged, leading to unacceptable treatment of women in our society. It is crucial that we recognise that such behaviours have no place in this modern world. As a community, we must work to foster and culture and respect equal understanding. This includes educating and empowering future generations to challenge outdated attitudes, ensuring that our young men grow up understanding the importance of treating everyone with dignity and respect. By supporting this proposal, we take a step towards creating a safer and more inclusive borough for all. Thank you.
Councillor Bell, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I mean, I welcome the proposal by Councillor Hobley, and I just offered an amendment because I just wanted to broaden it out slightly. There's an awful lot of work that's already going on in this borough, in the county, in the police, and generally speaking, they work together, but I'm sure that we could get them to work even better together than they do. And also all the charitable organisations, and White Ribbon is one of them, and an important one, that they work with, and the county recognise that charity. There's been a number of interesting documents from the county recently. In fact, the Public Health Director of Public Health's reports, not this year but last year, was about domestic abuse, and it's a really interesting and easy read. It's well illustrated, so I'd recommend it to anybody who's interested in this area. And the more recent one is the safer accommodation strategy, and basically that is so that we have accommodation that people who are victims of domestic abuse can be accommodated in, but we've recognised that there's a lot of different needs. So we need self-contained accommodation that can take larger families, that can take pets, that can take, for example, women who've got sons who are over the age of 14 find it very difficult to get the more traditional accommodation because they're classed as men. So for them to go with their mothers is hard. So we need accommodation that looks at everybody, even from same-sex relationships who are suffering abuse. There's all sorts of people there. And we do recognise that most of the victims are women, but not all of them are. And we need to accommodate everyone. So, and I also wanted to make sure that we took this forward. So suggesting that through the Safer subgroup, we get a presentation on what we're doing already, decide what we could do better together, and what charities we really need to push forward on this issue. So, Councillor Humbley, thank you very much for raising it, and I hope you will support it. Thank you.
Councillor Ridley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like Councillor Turley, I've been actually quite quiet tonight as well. Completely support the motion. In a previous life in 1991, I set up a domestic violence unit in Islington. And in 1993, worked with the Home Office, and we had an organisation called Domestic Violence Matters, where actually workers were actually put into the situation supporting victims of domestic violence as it actually happened. And there's a big report that is actually on the internet if you wanted to view it. 24%, only 24% of cases of domestic violence are reported to police, which is a shocking figure. But it is a fact of life. So when I looked upon our website for North Warwickshire, it's the first primary thing is call the police, and there is actually a good, when people do, there is the good sort of like pointer about, you know, the silent call, you know, very useful. However, there's a lot of people, there's women tonight that will be assaulted by their partners, by their ex-partners, and that is primarily what I want us to focus on, to be able to reach those victims and to be able to support them. So I welcome the fact that we're going to bring something to the Safer Sub and actually have a presentation. So I would like something. I would like our website to be more definitive, really, in relation to what help can be provided, and not just an immediate police response. I do have a lot of admiration for the police that when they actually do take over and try and push judicial results, but in a lot of cases that's not the answer, and there is an awful lot of repeat instances. So I will support it, but again, I would hope that we could perhaps extend the time. Thank you.
Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in 2016, I authored an article on domestic violence, and this was born from midwifery colleagues of mine that were very aware that we had to now ask the question, as it's known, at every contact with our women that we see, because obviously they're a captive audience, and during pregnancy, more likely to become victims of domestic violence and abuse. So I authored this because I felt that whilst there was lots of evidence out there to support these statistics and figures and facts, my colleagues were fearing what to do with the positive disclosure, because actually that part of the process wasn't very well documented. So I'm getting to the point now that the article that I authored was to actually come up with a plan of what do you do with the positive, and that was specifically for maternity, of course. Whilst I'm not saying that expands to here, my point was going to be I fully support what Councillor Hobley's brought today, but it's really important that we do have a plan of what we do, because it's very, you know, we can all say we support it, etc., but the actions actually are critical. So I think that's, for me, the most important part of it. So we've all, I hope, agreed for this today, but actually what we're going to do about it and what can we do that's going to be really critical to support these victims. Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Cameron.
Just very briefly, I couldn't agree more actually with the motion, in the sense that, particularly for this borough, linking in with what Councillor Bell said about engaging the right partners and having a joined up strategy and linking in with the Safer Sub. Particularly if any of you have gone into the detail on our homelessness strategy, one of the things that you'll see in there is the rise in our demand for housing, and the section of people that is linked to domestic abuse. So we're seeing it in our own work here in our borough. So it's really important that it is joined up and that we are actually looking at the plan. Because we're seeing our increase in the demand for our housing coming from that source. So it is relevant and it is really happening in our borough more than we perhaps understand.
Are we done? Oh, Councillor Stewart.
Just quickly to reinforce the point of Councillor Simmons, is I don't know if anyone else received the resources that came out from the Safe in Warwickshire Partnership in relation to domestic abuse in terms of posters with little tear off strips and whatever. I took those around various places within the borough, including the landlords of the village pubs, put them up in the lavatories. They detailed that the tear off strips had all been used, or and they'd gone down over time. And so the concern of the actual level of this silent and hidden oppression is shouldn't be lost on us. And anything that we can do in terms of that and resources that can be offered to all of us to support our communities and the people within them access services, we've got to do.
So thank you. Councillor Parsons.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, I want to thank Councillor Hobley and reinforce everything that's been said tonight. I've had a little bit to do with the choir I'm a member of. I'm not threatening to sing, so don't. We've supported a hostel for families in Birmingham for some years, and the men in the choir don't get to go near there, obviously, because men aren't generally welcomed because of the experiences that the women and indeed the children had. And it is commonplace for that hostel for women to arrive with their children in their pyjamas because they've grabbed them and run out of the home in fear of their lives. And that is what's at the root of this. Yes, there is violence against men, and that does happen in the domestic thing, but the majority of this great problem is there and is inflicted on women and children, and that is what we must support. Thank you.
Councillor Hobley, do you want to sum up your
Thank you.
accepted amendment, amended motion?
Thank you. Firstly, I've done a lot of research and I've got my own lived experience, unfortunately, on this topic. Councillor Bow, the report and the work you're doing at county is absolutely phenomenal. As you will know, I've stood up and spoke in the chamber before about how my first ever motion that I seconded in this chamber was a bit of a full circle moment for me. My first time in the chamber was when I was fleeing a domestically abusive relationship, and the offices were getting refurbed. So Mandy Rashid, who's still a housing officer here, had to bring me in here with a 1-year-old because I needed to speak to somebody that day. I've spoken to Mandy since, and it really is testament to the work that the council does already. And like Councillor Simmons said, this affects housing. In C&E, we've spoken, Health and Wellbeing Working Party, we spoke to attendance officers at county. It affects school attendance. This is so much of a wider subject than just violence. As a mum of 4 girls, and I know I don't mention it very often, but as a football coach to an all-female football team, it's also really important that we get the message across to our young girls how to behave in these situations, how to stop them from happening. But it's down to women as a whole to keep ourselves safe. That's our general view, and generally what's ingrained into us as women, to look after ourselves and protect ourselves. And when I brought up this motion with the Labour group, it brought up some really interesting reflections, and I'm sure you'll all have these reflections of, I mean, Councillor Osborne saying he looked at himself after an event where he was wearing a hat and he he'd come out of somewhere and made a woman walking down the street jump. And he sort of reflected afterwards, he's a pretty scary looking guy, and he'd probably unintentionally.
I don't recall this conversation.
But to think of our own behaviours, I've been speaking with the Borough Junior section as a whole. We've got 200 girls and 200 boys under this section, and it's really about teaching men and young boys, our sons, nephews, then people that look up to us, you know, to call out bad behaviour. While nobody's saying that this violence doesn't happen to men, the perpetrators of this are significantly higher to be male. So male violence against women and girls is a huge, huge issue. And I just want to thank you all for your complete support in this motion, for councillors across the board for your support previously, and I've gone completely off I've read nothing that I've been writing for the last week because I sort of didn't know how this is going to go. It's really difficult when I surround myself with brilliant men, and it's still really, really difficult when you're not that guy. And this is what I really appreciate from every single man sitting here. If you're not that guy to accept that this is a male problem. And that's the really, really difficult, hard sell of the White Ribbon campaign. And I really, really appreciate if you're not that guy and you can still say, this is a male issue, that we've got these, you deserve to be looked up to by these young men. And we need to prove to our young women, to our future daughters, to our granddaughters, to my football team when they're older, that we're going to do something to stop them being statistics. So I really thank you for your support. I know sometimes we get a bit spicy in here, but I know you can hear my voice shaking as well. And I'm normally a bit not like this, but I really thank you for all your support. And hopefully, if we can save one woman, our job's done. So thank you all. Oh, and I propose that, yeah. That the motion's moved. Thank you.
Right, let's go to the vote on this. All those in favour of supporting the motion, please show. Unanimous. That appears to be unanimous. Thank you very much. And now we're probably on to some more pages. I went up and quickly lost my head. Where are we? 15. Oh, yes. 15 to authorise the Chief Executive, according to the Article 1105 of the Articles of Constitution, to sign, seal and deliver. Second. Yep.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favour, please show. Now, I now need to move for the exclusion of the press and the public. You consider, in accordance with section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, when it's in the public interest of the public and press excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they might involve slight disclosure of information.
That's a right.
Yes, right. Before we go,
Can I just, has this meeting been recorded?
so any recording, once you agree to this motion, then any recording will stop. So if I'm proposing that, is someone seconding that? Thank you, Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. We're now in closed session. So to receive and consider